Awesome. We're all here. Well, thank you everyone who's coming in. I will just do a quick round of intros. So my name is Jazz, and I am the community manager here at Canadian Gap Year Association. So you usually see me hanging out in our Discord channel, which I will definitely invite you all to. I manage all of our marketing and events and support Michelle with all the wonderful things that we do here in supporting not just students and youth in understanding the how and the why and all the incredible opportunities of a gap year, but also supporting families and educators so that we can really make gap years more of a mainstream opportunity for post-secondary pathways. And I'm really excited to be hosting this panel as a avid traveler and travel lover. So I was just saying I'm coming at you from 9,000 feet in the Himalayas. So it's 2:30 here. And I want to just do a quick round of intros to our amazing panelists. So Arthur, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, sure. I'm Arthur from Pacific Discovery. I'm the outreach manager here, and we run gap year semester 6 and 10 week programs as well as summer programs, which vary from 2 to 6 weeks as well. And run them all across the world, COVID dependent. And we kind of focus, we don't have a main focus. We're not an internship program. We cover a lot of things. So service learning, ethical travel, cultural immersion, outdoor exploration, and leadership development. So kind of like we touch upon all the things. We're not focused on one.
Fantastic. Thank you. And Barbara, please introduce yourself. Tell us a little about you.
Hello. So I'm currently a promotion agent for the Official Languages Programs, which is a federally funded program to learn English and French in Canada. And so we have some people in Canada probably know us better by our Explore program or Odyssey program titles. And so I think what would be most beneficial for a lot of our students here would be our Odyssey program, which is like our paid work experience program where you get to go and teach, and you don't even need like a full degree or anything. You just need like a minimum of 1 year post-secondary, and then you can just go and start teaching either English or French somewhere in Canada. I myself have participated in the program, the Odyssey program twice and Explore once. So I can definitely say that they're worth checking out.
Awesome. Yeah, please make sure to just drop any links in the chat so our participants can check them out. But we also have everyone featured in our expo. So after the session, you can go check out everybody's expo booth. And last but certainly not least, Rhys, please introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. So my name is Rhys. I'm an ambassador with CanGap, and I'm also an ambassador with Discovery, which is a gap year program that I took last year, and I've had the pleasure to work closely with both organizations. I've also, as Jazzmine mentioned earlier, made some YouTube videos for CanGap advocating for gap years, and I'm really happy to be balancing this with school.
Fantastic. Thank you all so much for putting time aside today to join us for this. And I put the link before in the chat. If you want to check out our CanGap ambassadors and get to know more about Rhys and his journey, you can click there. But, to kick us off, I want to just kind of bring a really open question. What does travel look like in 2022 for y'all? What does that look like? What is it looking like based on where you are right now, and maybe possibly what's happening based on the programs that you run? Anyone feel free to jump in.
I'll go first. It's been changeable for us throughout the last year and a half. We were our most popular programs were New Zealand, Australia, and we're based out here, followed by Southeast Asia. Last year, that was not an option. So we saw a lot of domestic programs. We had a lot of domestic programs run successfully. Hawaii and the Western States. That was through fall and spring last year. And next year, we've just heard New Zealand is opening its borders from April. So we're hoping to get a lot of students back over to our neck of the woods. So it's been changeable, and we've had to pivot and run a lot of domestic programs, which we're still seeing a lot of students travel domestically, and they're still popular programs. But we're super excited to get New Zealand back on the map, pretty much.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for our Odyssey program, since it's Canada-wide, we're just kind of like shuffling Canadians from one province to the other, and it really depends on what province they're going to. Some have no problems driving from between Ontario and Quebec. I myself, since I moved from Ontario to BC to do the program last year, had no problem. And it was just, we tried to drive for days, and we didn't seem to have any problems at borders. Each province kind of has its own little particularities when it comes to vaccine passports and which school boards are open and stuff. So I was fortunate enough that a lot of the schools I worked with in the past year, they were mostly in person. So for us, I was just following whatever rules were set out by the school. For Ontario, I've heard some of my colleagues say that for presentations that we're doing and stuff, they have to go through a lot of paperwork. But it really will depend on each school board what their expectations are as far as who can come in and out of the school. But for the most part, it sounds like because a lot of schools for young kids really works better in person. I don't know who's tried to teach online, kindergartners, but it's really, really difficult. They just don't have the attention span. And so for our Odyssey program, since we deal with so many private school students, the ones that can be in person are in person. And we're doing our best to try and make everyone feel safe, and having our language assistants be able to go between different classrooms. They have their own cohorts and stuff. So some of our program, the ability to host, let's say, school-wide clubs after school isn't quite as doable at the moment. But we are still able to go in, play games with students, and really help them learn their language. So traveling-wise, I'd say we're pretty good within, but that's pretty domestic. So
yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing.
For Discovery Year, the main point of the travel period, it's like a self-discovery travel. So you fund it, and then you go wherever as long as you follow the one rule, which is get out of your comfort zone. So when I did it, I was able to get out of my comfort zone in Australia. But last year, the students got out of their comfort zone in Canada. And it was really cool to see some of the creative things. Someone who is an aspiring writer, for her travel period, rented an Airbnb somewhere and shut herself off from all social media and just focused on writing the entire month. And then someone else did a road trip. It was so seeing people get creative, getting out of their comfort zone with the restrictions was really cool to see.
Yeah, I feel like we forget to appreciate our own country sometimes. We're so ready to jump out and go somewhere far away, but there's so much to discover within our own countries. Awesome. Thank you for sharing. I just want to quickly apologize. I have 3 dogs and they're all doing, I don't know, they're just having a little party next to me. And just a quick note for anyone who has questions, please keep throwing them in the chat. I'm going to address them at the end, just so that we can make sure we get through all of the materials today. Obviously, following kind of an intro to what we think travel looks like next year, I'm curious to how your programs have possibly just, how you're working towards ensuring the health and safety of participants moving forward, since that is obviously the number one concern. Youth obviously want to get out and go, but there's still reservations. So just wanting to understand what those health and safety guidelines look like. Vaccinations, what are the other requirements? Can you just give us a quick update on what that looks like?
From our point of view, we're constantly working on, it's an ever-changing environment, the COVID landscape, and our COVID protocol is worked on weekly, if not daily. We travel through so many countries that things are changing constantly. It's not only the participants we need to look after, but the host villages that we pass through or stay in, and we're always in contact with our local partners to see how they feel about us coming through as a group, and if they feel comfortable with that and what effect it would have on their community. We were lucky, and I think our COVID protocol is pretty bang on with, we kind of get our 12 students together and travel as a bubble. We try to limit external meets with people outside of our group. We have pre-departure testing, arrival testing, and testing throughout the program. And through fall and spring last year, we had 300 odd students, and we didn't have one case of COVID, which is pretty remarkable considering we're in Hawaii, Western states, Southeast Asia, and Central America. So it is constantly changing, but we always put safety first.
Yeah, I guess for us, since we're again all over Canada, I think each province kind of has their own a bit of their own health guidelines, and then so basically anyone who's in our programs will just have to follow like any federal rules that we've got going, then the provincial ones, and then for Odyssey, the school board ones, whatever they ask. So it could be just, how can I put it? If anyone who's worked in education or worked with people in vulnerable sectors knows, you have to get criminal record check and stuff. So it might just be paperwork that's bundled all together like that in a little package with whoever your supervisor, your contact is going to be on the ground. They might ask you for a bunch of that stuff when you're asking for your documents and all your paperwork. And for Explorer, it'll be also based on not only the institutions I mentioned, but also like the universities or colleges where you're participating, because each place has kind of come up with some of their own guidelines based on what the governments have said should be done. And as far as like traveling between the provinces, I mean, it's a great time to rent an RV, get a camper van or something like that, and then just do your own thing going across the country or between provinces. And then I hear flights are cheap, so I'm not really whatever the guidelines are on domestic travel on that. But I do know that school boards definitely, they have their own interpretations of the guidelines, and they'll tell you once you get in contact with them.
Awesome, thanks for sharing.
For Discovery Year, so in our program, we're all students who just come out of high school, and we're taking a gap year before the next step in our journey. So what I works with travel is there's 1 month dedicated for travel, and it's completely like done by yourself. So I guess the restrictions for travel is like you have to do your own research, but it's completely up to you. There's time in some of our workshops to work on it and to get more information. So there's a lot of trust there, and it's your responsibility, right? You're an adult now, so that's kind of what happens in Discovery Year.
I love that. Good note on that. Yes, you're entering adulthood now. It's your responsibility to do all this research, and also really, obviously, like great practice for like what it is like to travel solo. And adulting is challenging sometimes, but it's really important that we do all this research on our own, so we have the correct information, because it is constantly changing. So I appreciate y'all just like giving kind of a high level overview of all the pieces, because yes, we have to be very aware that things are changing. It's so important to constantly be checking our government official websites to make sure that we have all the right information. So it's good to know that, like, I think also, Arthur, just something, my internet went out at one point, I apologize. It's so important to also talk about how we as travelers are impacting locals when we're traveling internationally. How do we ensure that we're not putting vulnerable communities at risk? And it, like, I think that's even like even a more important part, because, I feel like, of course, now we're so excited to just burst out, but we have to consider the communities that we're visiting and ensuring that everyone is staying safe. And bubble travel is something that I'm hearing a lot now, even with organizations and group travel is just having these smaller, more intimate experiences, which are actually so much more beautiful than, having like 70 people on a bus. So I think that's beautiful. And thank you for noting that. One of the biggest questions we usually get from families when it comes to gap year programs is what funding opportunities are available. So obviously, everyone's situation is very different right now. But of course, we still want, our youth going out there and exploring on their gap years. So do any of you, do your programs offer any kind of like scholarships or funding opportunities to make programming more accessible moving into 2022?
We offer 2 scholarships, which run each semester. So that's fall, spring, and summer. One of them being the Diverse Voices, which is to encourage students from underrepresented backgrounds. And also financial need. We know our programs aren't cheap and are out of reach. So they shouldn't be restricted to only those with the money. So we just try and make it more accessible to students who need that little bit of help. We can't give multiple places away for free, but we definitely do try and help anyone who is wanting to take some time out.
Yeah, and for our Odyssey program, actually, the nice thing about this, and I don't think you even get it with a lot of some jobs or opportunities out there. So I think this is a pretty good opportunity for first like level entry level position. But basically, what happens is because so many of our participants have to go between different provinces, their travel between their home and their like destination province is covered. So for example, when I did it between Ontario and BC, I got like $5.50 or something like that. There was a certain amount in our little chart of numbers of what each participant gets depending on like a province to the different province. And so your trip to your work location is covered. And then during the winter break, your trip back home so you can visit family and then come back is also covered. And then once you're at the end of your contract, your travel expenses to get back home are also, covered at a cap, I'll say. I don't have the numbers for each province because some people be traveling longer distances than others, like maybe from Nova Scotia to BC or from Toronto to Yukon versus like Ontario and Quebec. But we do cover those expenses for the Odyssey program.
For Discovery Year, there is financial aid, and you can apply for it. Something worth mentioning for Discovery Year is it's a whole calendar year, and a lot of the year is work terms. So I don't know the exact math, but if you work the recommended, I think they want us to work at least 25, just get over a comfort zone, 25 hours a week. You will be able to fund your own travel, fund your own Discovery Year, and come out in the positives like most of us did. But there is financial aid as well.
Awesome. Yeah. And I guess I was going to ask, I had a question around more like localized travel, like what opportunities are available for anyone who's not super comfortable with going abroad at the moment. But it sounds like between Odyssey and Discovery Year, there's a lot of opportunity there for staying within Canada. Obviously for Pacific Discovery, we're going to the other side, or what other options are available? Like if, do we have any kind of like virtual programs that youth can still participate in? Just to make it accessible for anyone who's not feeling comfortable, what other options are available through your programs?
We don't have any virtual programs. Last fall semester, we ran a Discovery Campus for people doing online internships, online college. And they would head to somewhere like Hawaii or Costa Rica and just be, it would be a static place. They'd stay in a big house with 30 odd students doing their online learning and doing trips away at the weekend. And we don't offer anything online at the moment, but we do run domestic travel within the US, not Canada at the moment.
Next up then, huh? And we got to add Canada now.
Yeah.
So as far as like virtual programming goes, Looking at Odyssey, that one, again, it depends on the school board. So if it ends up that the school board has to be online, then you would be doing it virtually. Also, it depends what language you speak. So maybe if you're somebody who speaks French and you live in Toronto, then you'll be able to stay. You could, if you apply ahead of time, you might have a chance to actually teach French in Toronto. But if you're from Toronto and you only speak English, then your only options are Quebec and New Brunswick. And then again, it would go back to the school board if they're online or not. With our Explore programming, we were able to do it virtually last summer, and some of the universities, they liked how that was still made it more accessible for people who normally wouldn't apply because it's just too far, it costs too much for a train ticket or something like that. And so there are a few universities that are gonna try and do some virtual programming this summer. So if you go to our site, you'll be able to find which ones will do it, but that will also depend on the language that you're going to choose and what age group, because those ones are a little more limited. But there are some options. It's just a bit dependent on age, language, and which programming you're going into.
Gotcha.
Discovery right now is working with a hybrid model. So around half of the program is virtual. So we have a lot of people from the Greater Toronto area and Toronto who join the program, and then half of that is online, and then we have like a homestay program. So once a month when in-person activities happen, the people from the GTA can come down and stay for the in-person activities.
Awesome. Cool. All right, well, I have some questions in the chat, and feel free to keep flooding them in. We got about 10-ish minutes. So Becky's actually asking, and my son did the Explore program online last year. Can he apply to do it again in person?
So for Explore, a few things in order to be eligible for Explore, you have to be, well, one of them is that you are a student. So we have lots of programs from like 13 plus. So if your son is still a student in this school year, then they'll be able to apply again. I've met people who've done the program like 4 summers in a row. And even I'm intending and have interest to try applying again for this summer. So you are allowed to apply multiple times, but you just have to be eligible. In order to be eligible, you're either a student or have participated in Odyssey Program. That's one of the criteria.
All right. Awesome. And Samira is asking if Explore programs accept international students. Are they eligible for Explore programs?
So another factor in being eligible for the Explore program would be that since it is funded by Heritage Canada, and that means it is government funds, we do have the requirement of you have to either be a permanent resident or a citizen. So we do ask for that documentation in the application. So that's a very important one.
Okay. Samira says, thank you. Awesome. Well, is there anything, please, anyone, if you have any questions, please flood them in. But is there anything else that our lovely panelists would like to add just around any fun updates about programs? You know, when your next program is running, perhaps when deadlines are, you know, deadlines are obviously something that we need to know as we go into traveling next year. So is there just any kind of remaining details to leave our amazing participants with today and where to head to? So if you want to drop links in the chat, just to support them in their next steps.
And we have spring programs. We've just finished our fall cohort last week, just in time for Thanksgiving in the US. And our spring cohort leaves beginning of February. I think we've got Central America, South America, Thailand, and Hawaii going at the moment. No deadlines. It's just one of our program advisors will be able to let you know what's available and when.
For the Explore program, if you want to participate in 2022, you have to get your applications in by February 15th, 2022. That's our early bird deadline. Our draw is in March. We do accept late applications, but because we'll be taking people from the draw and then waiting for people to accept and refuse to offer, we'll keep going until they're filled. But you definitely want to have all your stuff in by February 15th, just because it gives you a better chance. You'll just be in the first round of selection, of getting the draw and whatnot. And then Odyssey is interesting. Pretty much if you want to increase your chances as an English speaker, so our Anglophones, all that side of the program is pretty competitive because we only have the 2 provinces. You definitely want to get your applications in by February 28th because we start interviewing in like March and April. And for Francophones, well, we pretty much accept rolling applications. Best to have it in again by February 28th because we do the applications or the interviews after. But because there's such a need for French speakers, anyone who's bilingual or Francophone, you have pretty much any choice, any province, territory you want. And we're doing rolling applications for our French speakers.
Awesome. And Rhys, I think Valerie just jumped in to give you all the information.
She beat me in the punch in the chat. So you can click if you're interested in Discovery Year, the events page is there. And Val pretty much covered it.
Yeah, Val's actually also hosting a session after this. So following this session, we have a parent alum Q&A that's happening in a couple minutes. I'm going to be hosting a workshop for any newcomers or BIPOC students who want to just have a safe space to chat about what a gap year can look like. I am a West Indies gal from Toronto, but I was also on a gap year. So if you want to chat with me about what that can look like and all the different ways, to make it come true for you, regardless of barriers, we'll be chatting about that after this, as well as, Val is hosting a Thriving in Uncertainty workshop after this as well. We have another question. As Pacific Discovery is a program partnered with Acadia University, are international students in Canada able to participate as part of their study permit?
To my knowledge, I don't think we're partnered with Acadia University, but international students are able to join any of our programs. And we have students from UK, rest of Europe, Canada, US. So we have a whole mix of people on there.
Yeah, Samira joined. Samira's from Ecuador, so this is awesome. You should go. Oh yeah, Class Afloat is partnered with Acadia. Yeah, awesome. Cool. Well, thank you so much, Arthur, Barbara, Rhys. Thank you so much for joining me for a lovely half an hour of chatting all things travel. Participants, feel free to just jump over to the expo and stick around with us. We've got lots more coming, especially travel-oriented stuff. So if you're looking to take the next step in your travel planning, stick around. Yes, thank you again, everyone. I appreciate it. Appreciate your time.
Thanks for joining, guys.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
Thanks, y'all. Have a lovely afternoon.